"What happened to the lantern?" Teddy whispered. He peeked outside his den. All around, the animals were peeking out too. Rabbits, owls, foxes, even the shy little mice. If the lantern of kindness goes out, hooted an old owl softly, the forest could lose its magic. Teddy's heart thumped. Someone had to go and see what was wrong. He gulped, took a deep breath and whispered, "I'll go." His paws were shaking, but he stepped onto the moonlit path anyway. As Teddy walked along the silver glittering trail, the ground sparkled like someone had sprinkled tiny stars. The forest was quiet, almost too quiet. Then he heard it. A tiny sound. A soft, squeaky sob. Teddy followed the noise, pushing aside a low branch, until he found Lulu the bunny, sitting under a bush, her whiskers trembling. "Lulu?" Teddy asked gently. "What's wrong?" "My baby brother's blanket blew away in the wind," she sniffled. "He can't sleep without it, and I can't leave him alone to go find it." Teddy looked at the dark forest beyond. He was scared. He wanted to keep walking to the lantern. But then he thought about the tiny bunny, shivering without his blanket. "I'll find it," Teddy said. He sniffed the air, followed the smell of grass and cotton, and padded carefully through the trees. Soon he saw it, a tiny blue blanket caught on a thorny bush, fluttering in the wind. Carefully, Teddy used his soft paws to tug it free, without tearing it. He brought it back to Lulu, who hugged it close to her chest. "Oh, Teddy," she whispered, "you're so kind." As she spoke, something magical happened. A soft glow appeared in front of Teddy, a tiny golden spark that floated in the air like a firefly. It shimmered, then drifted toward the hill, where the dark lantern waited. "The lantern," Teddy breathed. "Maybe it needs kindness." Teddy kept walking. The deeper he went into the forest, the darker it felt. The trees grew taller, the path grew thinner, but now, tiny golden sparks floated ahead of him like a trail. Soon he reached the silver stream, a narrow river with water that glowed faintly under the moon. There, on a slippery stone in the middle of the stream, was Rory the raccoon, arms folded, tail drooping. "Rory," Teddy called, "what are you doing out there?" "My cart rolled into the water," Rory sighed. "I was bringing food home for my family and it slipped. Now it's stuck between the rocks, and I can't reach it. If I fall in, I'll drop everything." Teddy looked at the stream. The water wasn't too deep, but it was cold and fast. He hesitated. What if he slipped? What if he fell? Then he thought of Rory's hungry family, waiting at home. Teddy stepped into the water. It was icy, and it made him gasp. But he moved slowly, carefully, paw by paw. He reached the little wooden cart, pushed with his strong bare shoulders, and nudged it free from the rocks. Rory grabbed it and smiled wider than Teddy had ever seen. "Thank you, Teddy. You always help when no one else will." More tiny golden sparks swirled around Teddy now, brighter than before. They floated upward, joining the others, all drifting toward the hill, toward the dark lantern. By the time Teddy finally reached the top of the hill, his paws were tired, and his fur was still damp. But he didn't stop. There, in the middle of a circle of stones, sat the lantern of kindness. Up close, it looked even sadder. Dark, cracked, and cold, like it had forgotten how to glow. Teddy's heart sank. He sat down in front of it and whispered, "I'm not strong. I'm not very brave. I'm just me. But I tried to help. I did my best." The tiny golden sparks he had seen along the way floated down all around him, glowing brighter and brighter, until they were gently swirling around the lantern. Teddy watched, eyes wide, as they slowly soaked into the cracks. He remembered Lulu's relieved smile, Rory's grateful eyes, all the little moments where he chose kindness, even when he was scared. I don't know if it's enough, he said softly, but I hope it helps. He placed his little paw gently on the side of the lantern. For a moment, nothing happened. The hill was silent. The forest held its breath. And then, a warm golden light burst from inside the lantern of kindness. Not sharp or blinding, but soft, like 1,000 cozy hugs. The light flowed down the hill and into the forest, sliding along tree trunks, touching every leaf, every burrow, every nest. Lulu's baby brother slept peacefully under his blanket. Rory's family shared their food around a glowing table. The old owl blinked as his favorite reading branch lit up again. The entire forest seemed to sigh with relief. The lantern's glow settled into a gentle, steady shine. And Teddy suddenly felt very, very sleepy. When he woke up, Teddy was back in his den, tucked under his favorite mossy blanket. Had it all been a dream? He turned his head and froze. On a rock beside his bed sat a tiny wooden lantern, glowing just enough to paint soft gold on the walls of his den. Around the handle was a little carved message, for the bravest kind heart in the forest. Teddy smiled, his nose wrinkling with joy. He wasn't the biggest, he wasn't the loudest, he wasn't the fastest. But his kindness had relit the magic of the forest.